Hey guys, it's John, and welcome back to The Letter. The sun hangs lower when I stumble back into consciousness and drag myself downstairs. Around this time, the patrons usually start to trickle into the main lounge until it reaches a peak around midnight. Today, however, it remains thin. But considering what day it isn't too worrisome for the kind of business G runs. He has always complained about the lack of a decent crowd on week start, although he doesn't really begrudge his customers for it. No one wants to start the week with a bad case of a hangover after all, even him. Which makes the concerned look he gives me come off a bit too odd. With the kind of danger we're in, this swiftly puts me on the edge, even before sleep completely fades from my mind.
Something wrong, G?
G hums, but there's an undertone of annoyance in it despite his casual and open movements. And only after he finishes wiping a tumbler and carefully settles it face down on the table does he give me an answer. The way he stares back at me honestly makes me squirm. Feels like I'm being stared down by my primary school teacher for sleeping in class again.
Nothing much. Monday's still a slow day for this place. But you might want to check on your friends, kid. Looks like one of them woke up on the wrong side of the bed while you were out.
Becca. Another question forms in my head, along with a small, confused frown. Though before a single syllable slips past my mouth, Rebecca's irate voice rings out from some part of the main lounge. From the sound of it, it appears woke up on the wrong side of the bed is a complete understatement.
Alone? You know we can't just go in there.
Oh, she sounds so furious.
But we don't have any other choice, Becca. There's really no other way. We have to go there. If you'll just...
Isabella sounds much angrier than Rebecca.
Isabella? No.
That doesn't sound too comforting. Once Rebecca assumes that kind of tone in an argument with Isabella, it usually ends with one of them walking out or both giving the other the silent treatment. It lasts for about a week at most if it's really bad, which really isn't what we need right now. I've hoped the bad blood from this morning will simply blow over, after all of us has gotten a decent rest. I should have expected things won't be the same with them as it is with Zach and I. Turns out sleep isn't just what some of us need. Even G appears to understand it. In spite of his efforts to look as unconcerned as possible, there's a tense set on his shoulders. A nervous edge lingers in his eyes as it occasionally flickers over where Rebecca and Isabella's voices are coming from. He doesn't want to deal with this, especially at the start of another busy week. Neither do I. Things have worked out well between them before without Zach or I meddling. But the imploring gaze G directs at me leaves me with no other choice. It almost feels like he's guilting me into doing something about it. I hate that it's working.
You know how I run this pub, kid. No fist fights, no cat fights, only good booze, bad puns, and off-key singing. Go fix it before it blows up in your faces. I'd hate to throw two girls out of this place over a petty argument.
It's probably not as petty if Rebecca's already shouting like that, but I give him a nod nevertheless.
Sorry about this, G.
He hums something under his breath for an answer and waves me off, turning away and returning to his work without another word. Even with the lack of a sizable crowd, he likes to keep busy. We're the same in that regard. Can't remain still, always has to stay moving, doing something, thinking, whatever helps keeps the brain at work. I leave him to it shortly after Rebecca's voice rings out once again, followed by Isabella's. But part of me wants to thank him for all the trouble he has taken for people he barely even know. Once this is over, I should probably find some way. What does that mean? Some way to thank him? In the meantime, I have this immediate problem to fix. Gotta get to this before it turns into a shitstorm both of them will regret. And I know both of them will. For all of Isabella's complaints about Rebecca's bossy attitude, or how annoying Rebecca sometimes finds the other's childlike demeanor, it's a friendship they both cherish in their own way. Oh wow, this music again? Rebecca's already on her feet when I spot them in an almost deserted area of the pub. I'm willing to bet my entire life savings that people are staying away only because of the brewing storm. Why would you bet your entire life savings on that, Ash? Idiot. Rebecca can have quite the mood when she's cross. Yes, so we've heard. This might be the 30th time. I can't speak for Isabella. I rarely ever see her seething, but from what I've heard, it can be very unpleasant. The way she's glaring up at the redhead from her seat, regardless of how much the other woman towers over her right now, already says everything. Towers over her? How tall is she? Isabella's 5'2". Rebecca's 5'5". She's not towering over her. Whatever. Empty plates have been left neatly piled on one corner of the table they occupy. A conversation that turns sour sometime after late lunch then. Good thing they've already done and nothing's left to be spilled. Because in the next moment, before I can approach and intervene, Rebecca slams her palm on the table. It sends the silverware clinking sharply against the surface. Isabella flinches momentarily. We both do, though she shows no indication of surrendering in the face of Rebecca's temper. Everything escalates from there.
You've already gotten us in enough trouble because of this let a ghost everything.
You're blaming me again.
And you can't expect everyone to fix your mess. You keep on putting the blame on me, but you're the one who didn't listen. All of you. If you just listened in the first place, maybe this wouldn't have happened.
This is literally the exact same argument they had in the park.
But you're too busy acting like you know what's best for everyone, when in fact you're the one who's being selfish.
I wonder why we're getting a repeat showing of the exact same argument. If you like this visual novel, please defend this scene and its inclusion. Thank you.
I'm the one who's selfish. Yet you're still going to do what you want anyway, even if the people around you are already beside themselves with worry. This is how you've always acted since we met, and I'm tired of it. Sometimes I wish you never even came here, because all you've given us is a headache. You know why I had to come here. My dad. Your dad has nothing to do with this. It has always been you and your whiny, careless self that has always been the problem.
Maybe I should have stepped in earlier. Maybe I should have said something the moment Rebecca has slammed the flat of her hand on the table, or the second I've entered the area. Either way, it's too late to act. Harsh words have already been hurled between the two. Words more cutting than any blade, each and every one of it digging a wound too deep in the person they've been aimed at. For a long time, Isabella sits there in silence while Rebecca stands unmoving, arms crossed and breathing heavy. Despite the lack of words between them, they're both vibrating with anger, refusing to meet the other's eyes. Ever so slowly, the atmosphere in the room turns thick and smothering. A strained air no one in the immediate vicinity, including me, dares to break until the ones at the center does so. Rebecca definitely won't. At some point in our friendship, she has grown to become a woman firm with her opinions. She's never going to back down from this, not when she knows she has a point. Isabella, on the other hand, there has always been a certain stubbornness in her. As frustrating as it is to see sometimes, it's what has gotten her through life's hardships. Perhaps even the only thing that has. When you have nothing else, people tend to cling on to what they have within themselves instead. But she also knows when to withdraw when a struggle turns useless. A kind of awareness almost second nature to her. When enough is enough, Isabella abruptly stands and marches towards the exit in fast, rigid steps, away from the hurt and painful words they've let fly earlier. She bumps into me in her haste, the impact nearly knocking her off her feet. Oh, because you're so strong. Whatever. Instinct kicks in at the last moment, and I reach out for her, grabbing her arm in a steadying grip. Surprise flits across her face, an expression mirrored by Rebecca behind her. Neither of them have noticed me. However, that doesn't mean I won't have things to say about this. We're gonna have to take Isabella's side here. I mean, come on. All right, let's take a look at how they are beforehand. Sorry, Rebecca. It's gonna go down even further with you.
You okay?
Oh, look at that. It's almost full with Isabella. Yeah. Sorry, Rebecca. You're almost as low as Hana now, who I don't even know. That's embarrassing. Rather than answer, once her shock subsides, she merely averts her gaze and hastily wipes the tears off her cheeks, like she only noticed them in that moment. Then without another word or even meeting my eyes again, she gently brushes away my hand and runs off, leaving an awkward hush in her wake. So that's what the choice was? I say you okay to Isabella? Rebecca soon slumps on the chair Isabella has just left, gingerly reaching up to press the bridge of her nose and breathing out a ragged exhale. Arguments like this have always drained both her patience and energy, usually more than her rowdy students do, despite being no stranger to it. It's no excuse for her to say those things, though. My disapproval must be clear enough on my face. When she finally glances back at me, her exhaustion immediately shifts back to annoyance, her mouth curving down to a tight frown. I cross my arm in response, waiting. a reaction verging on instinctive in the face of her irritation. Regardless of my opinions about this, I don't say anything yet, not until she's the one willing to talk. Another minute passes while we stare each other down, but eventually she breathes out again and relaxes her rigid posture.
What do you want, Ash? If you have something to say, just tell me, or I'm going back upstairs.
Okay, bye.
Did you really have to say it like that?
Well, how do you want me to answer her? Do you want me to just let her go there and do what she wants? I know you won't be too happy if I did that.
That's a low blow, Rebecca. Even for you. We all know she wasn't even planning on staying here this long. There was no need to bring it up if all you wanted to do is stop her.
Did you even see how she's acting? She's not a child anymore. Even my students can do better.
Becca, she'll listen if you'll just ask her properly. I know you mean well and you do have a point, but please be a little more thoughtful next time. Go think about it for a while.
I wouldn't have phrased it like that, Ash, but sure. By some miracle, the whole discussion ends right there. Rebecca elects to stay silent, or at least it's how it seems when a minute or two passes and she says nothing. She looks like she's plotting, a rare occurrence when she almost always has something on her mind. Only an uneasy atmosphere hangs in the air when I finally decide to remove myself from the room. She doesn't stop me. Instead, something inexplicable flickers momentarily in her eyes, one that quickly disappears until only a vague notion of it remains in her memory. But in that one exchange, I've caught a short, clear glimpse of what has shifted, of what's inevitable. So much has changed throughout the years. We will never be the same person we once were. And if it's for the better, we've yet to know. A lull has descended in the main lounge once I return. G's nowhere to be seen. People continue to trickle out instead of in, and by the time I get back, only 2 tables remain occupied. Soon, these people too will be gone. The whole place will be devoid of anyone. Frankly, its current state already lends the place an entirely different vibe. Along with the soothing strum of strings and the steady beat of drums playing overhead, there's a calming sense to this. A far cry from times I've been here before. And perhaps it's for this reason why Isabella has chosen this place to retreat. She sits quietly in the furthest corner of the room, in one of the tables set right beside the window. G usually keeps the curtains closed around this hour, but a small portion of it has been pulled back, revealing the busy streets outside. The late afternoon lights spill right through it, outlining her small form and pooling on the surface of the table where both her arms rest. In her hand, she flips a piece of folded paper, turning it from one side to the other without any purpose. You know, now that I'm looking at it, the handwriting is different. Just didn't notice it. For the send this to 5 people or else, which we know was added later by the prankin' students. It's just a shame because the chain letter aspect was what kind of hooked me. Because up until that point, I was just kind of like, yeah, this is okay, I guess. And then I got to there and I was like, ooh, a haunted chain letter. That's kind of an interesting concept. And now it's turned out that it's a load of bullshit, and that's not actually what it is. Kind of annoying. Oh well. The letter. A small frown creases her forehead while she stares at it, yet there's something oddly tranquil in the picture she has unknowingly painted. Something I can't bring myself to disturb, if only for a few seconds. It's one of those moments again, the rare ones, the ones where she's too still, too quiet, a complete opposite of her usual self, but it's these that often leave a mark. Not her cheery disposition or her lively attitude, but these short few seconds of wordless silence when the softest sighs and the slightest movements sing louder. The smallest, minuscule things that tell you about the person and her strength more than any words can express. It's these that carve a vivid memory, no matter how brief it lasts. She glares at me annoyed, and just like that, all of it melts away. Gone is the stillness, replaced quickly by the teasing and friendly jibes. Back again to what we're used to, what's easy, what's familiar, where every truth we hope to convey regrettably goes unsaid between us.
You're going to destroy an important piece of evidence if you keep doing that, Belle.
But she's far from angry. A bit upset, maybe. Who wouldn't be? Well, I do agree with Rebecca. What? Her words still hit below the belt. Regardless, Isabella doesn't seem like she'll start shouting at me, at least compared to every other people I've aggravated, intentional or otherwise. Some light talk might just do the trick and coax her out of this mood.
Come on. If you keep staring at the table like that, you're going to bore a hole on it. I really don't want to OG a new table. He'll pick the most expensive one and leave me begging on the streets.
This is some desperate cheering up. She levels a quick glance at me, her expression dry and impassive enough to drain every color out of the room. It's as if I've just told her a terrible joke and she's expecting there'll be more of it. Really now. She needs to give me more credit than that. My jokes are funny when I want them to be. There's a ghost girl out there trying to kill you. Weren't you gonna go to the mansion and get to the bottom of it? Isn't Luke Wright a murderer? Hannah's possessed. Why are we talking about how Ash's jokes are funny?
And I really don't care. I'd even take pictures and post them online. Go away, Ash. I don't want to talk right now.
That's her eyes right now. Yet it sounds half-hearted at best. Like what's happening has already sapped every bit of energy out of her, and all that's left are the words. Pretty soon those two will lose their meaning and leave a hollow shell in their wake. It's already unusual to see her like this. Everything has already gone to shit. I'd like at least this one thing to stay normal. So, somehow we manage. We continue for the better half of an hour, talking, joking, with her short, feeble responses and banter that never goes anywhere. But it's enough. In the grand scheme of things, amidst the chaos and death shadowing over us, it's these little inconsequential moments that matter. It's her smile, her laughter, when it finally rings, easy and free of her burdens.
Okay, I have another one.
I don't want to hear it, Ashton. Go away.
No, really, listen. I know someone who talks like an owl.
Will you leave me alone if I bite and ask who?
A pause. And then she frowns as realization slowly dawns on her. Confusion flashes fleetingly across her face before eventually settling on a grimace.
Oh.
Suddenly, she hugs her arms closer to herself and looks away, perhaps in her best attempt to stay angry. Oh, okay. I get it. I was like, was that on purpose? Of course it was. To no avail. In a matter of seconds, her shoulders shake with laughter she's trying to contain.
You're awful and I really hate you. Just leave.
That's an intense reaction. Wow. You're awful and I really hate you. It's contagious. Her mirth. Oh, her telling you that you're awful and she hates you and she wants you to leave? That's mirth, huh? Soon, I'm joining her in it. That's all he laughed. Briefly forgetting every problem that has piled up and continues to weigh down on us. Yeah, you guys are briefly forgetting about that stuff literally every scene. Like, unless the ghost is actively attacking you, you're forgetting about it and sharing a laugh over something. Laughing without reservation or care until only a familiar warmth lingers once both our amusement ebbs away. Somehow with her, these things have always come easy.
Feeling better?
A little. You're still lame.
But you're laughing right now.
Only because your humor is terrible.
Right. Keep telling yourself that. I know it's funny.
This is like every cringy conversation that I overhear when I'm at PAX from like two nerds. Like some dude who thinks he's way funnier than he is, some girl who has never been around someone who's actually funny. Oh boy.
And you know what? If you've kept frowning like that, your face might have cracked. That would have been really messy and ugly.
This is what passes for comedy in this world, guys. If glares can kill with the one she sends my way, I'll probably be dead by now. Play laugh track. Seeing it directed my way, it only takes a few quick seconds for me to realize how she might have also taken my statement. How wrong and rude it might have sounded in her ears, however unintentional it is. I've never been good with words, but that's never an acceptable excuse, is it? Suddenly, taking the brunt of her anger seems less complicated than correcting or explaining myself. Nevertheless, I try.
What? God, crap. Damn it, that was so not what I meant. I was just saying you look better when you're smiling.
Her glare doesn't even wane. In fact, I think it intensified, like the brewing storm. In the face of it, under the sharpness of her stare and her annoyance, I do what any person with a good sense of self-preservation does. Keep my mouth shut and shift my attention elsewhere. The crowd outside looks very interesting today. Maybe I should...
Thanks, Ash.
She utters all of it in a voice too small, too quiet. When I turn to her, only those words, her gratitude, resonate throughout the whole room. Not the soft clinking of silverware somewhere, nor the last strains of music fading into silence above us. Instead, it's the meaning behind her gaze as she holds mine that lingers. steady, unflinching, and open, in the same way she looked at me all those years ago, with bright eyes and an expression softening into a tender smile. I didn't understand it then. How easy it is for her to wear her heart on her sleeve, how she never shies away from expressing herself, even among people she barely knows. How she can go through everything without losing herself. Now it's among the hundreds, the thousands that hang unspoken between us, trivial little things with worth still too big to put into words. Either because it's too early or because there's never really a proper time. For now, though, this'll do. Until the moment itself dwindles. Until reality pulls us back in, reminding us of the things we've set aside in its favor.
Isabella, about what happened with Rebecca earlier.
She didn't have to say that.
A small frown returns to her face, although it lacks the same anger from before. Before, the bitterness stays.
And you don't have to apologize for her. If she wants to say sorry, she has to do it herself.
Oh my god, please don't tell me I have to go talk to Rebecca and get her to apologize to Isabella. I don't give a shit. Can we please go to the Ermagod mansion? She has a point, though. Isabella freezes. In an instant, the pleasant air around us dissipates. She shifts her attention back to her hands again, both clenched so tightly that her knuckles visibly pale.
I know, Ash. I just thought we'd find something in there. That if I go back, we'll get the answers we need. I found the letter there, so maybe, right?
I mean, Ash has the exact same idea. It's just he has a martyr syndrome, so he wants to put himself at risk. It's not that I don't agree with her. Hell, I've been considering the same thing. Didn't you say you were going to do that? It's the only lead we have, after all. But Rebecca also has a point I will always agree with, no matter how desperate I am. It's not going to be a simple walk in the park. Yeah, of course not. Oh my god. Who knows what we might find in there? If she comes with me, I won't be able to guarantee her safety. She'll be in even greater danger. Hence, alone. Exactly as I have told Zach. If there's a need to go back to that accursed place, I'm doing it on my own. Whether or not the rest of them agree with this plan is inconsequential. Their well-being is my top priority. I'm not just about to drag them in there with me. So I tell her as much, despite the determination and desperation in her eyes. Anything to keep her safe. I can't let you do that. Say it's dangerous. I can't let you do that.
Forget it, Belle. You're not going back to that mansion.
It went down. Wow, it shifted. The music.
But Ash, what about...
This isn't up for debate. Do you really think they'll just let you in?
Oh boy.
Do you really think they'll give a damn if you walk in there carrying that stupid letter of all things?
No, but there has to be something we can tell them. Ash, they were with me during the open house. They have to know. They're in as much trouble as we are. They're living in that place.
Yeah.
The ghost woman came from there. Both her and the letter. Something's in that house, Ash. And whatever it hides might be the only thing that'll get us out of this mess.
All right. Supposing you do find an answer there, what happens? Let's say that by some dumb luck, you got inside and found something.
What if you see her again? What if she goes after you? What are you going to do?
It's not like we have any other choice. Besides, I'm pretty sure you've already thought of the same thing. Admit it.
That doesn't mean I'm going to let you run straight into trouble. What you're planning to do is risky. For you. Give it up, Isabella.
Unexpectedly, Isabella merely clams up. No resistance. No further argument like I've come to expect from her. Uncharacteristic. Just a silence that stretches far too thin till the air in the whole room grows awkward and suffocating. A standstill that'll get us nowhere. Although if there's one thing our talk has wonderfully succeeded at, it's making me feel like a total asshole and a hypocrite. And I am, considering my plans tonight. Sure, I can tell her, but what good would it do? I've already told Zach one person is enough. Hell, simply letting someone in on the plan makes me iffy. Broadening that circle and revealing too much would cause just another pointless concern. Can we just get on with it? Can we go to the mansion, please? But someone has to be aware, at least, of where I'm heading off to in case things don't pan out. Yeah, Zach knows. Expect the worst, even if I've only intended to do a quick survey of the place. In my own words, risky. Yes, we get it, it's risky. Isabel doesn't need to be burdened with the worry of my entire scheme entails. I like to think that, yes, to some extent she understands, but even if she does not entirely agree with me, the dilemma is clear in her. Otherwise, her scowl wouldn't have a deeper set to it, her lips wouldn't be pressed in a thin line, or her hand would no longer be balled into fists. She would have pushed that argument if she doesn't, and I know she has no lack of things to say. Maybe it's because she has already heard the same thing from Rebecca. Maybe my words have made her come to her senses. Either way, it's best that we simply leave it here for now. I stand up as soon as footsteps shuffle from the next room, its cadence slow and hesitant. Shortly, Rebecca comes into view, clutching her fists firmly in front of her and sporting the same uncertainty in her face. She casts me a cursory look, then shifts a nervous one to Isabella, who studies her with an almost helpful gleam in her eye. Their fights never did last
Belle,
long.
Can we talk alone?
Yes, please talk alone. Please. Her interruption could not have come sooner, and I'm all the more glad for it. Whatever kind of friendship I share with the two, this remains something for only the two of them, much like my own with Zach. Yes, let's get out. I'm the outsider. They don't need me here. It's all the reason I need. Muttering an excuse, I beat a hasty exit out of the main lounge and leave them to mend things on their own. Before Isabella can say what she's been mulling over, before the last imploring glance she delivers my way forces me to change my mind, it's another lasting image that firmly etches itself in my memory, one that spurs the conscience, among other things. I just hope I won't regret what I've chosen for myself tonight. Let's go. Thank you. Oh my god. Do we really need to hear your thoughts on the way there? Look at Ash. So tsundere. Galway Shawl's Monday night crowd, although small and barely occupies a quarter of the whole pub, provides ample enough cover for anyone who wishes to leave the place unnoticed. Just exactly what I needed tonight, with the lively music and chatter slipping out, mostly unseen, becomes a piece of cake. I thought there were like 2 people there. Alright. Without much trouble, soon enough I find myself standing outside under the chilly Luxburn night. A gust of wind picks up shortly after I step out, carrying the telltale smell of an impending rain. I'll give it about an hour or 2 before it starts. We're literally talking about the weather right now. From the looks of it, tonight will be another downpour, maybe even stronger than the one we've had this morning. On instinct, I hunch further into my jacket, hugging its thick material closer to my body while I weave my way through the lines of empty cars in the parking lot. The letter crinkles in my pocket with each step I take, though I pay it no mind as I hurry toward my car. I've nicked it minutes ago from Isabella's belongings on my way out. If this is all connected, I need this damn piece of paper with me. However ridiculous as it sounds, I'm quite sure it won't be missed either. But I can't waste time here and wait for her to find out, can I? 4 hours is all I'm giving myself to get this done. 3 if I'm inclined to go by the rules Z-Man set, but when have I ever? Ha! Regardless of how generous that is, each second's just as important as the next. I agree. So I hurry. Imagine that. One footstep over the other, echoing as I make a beeline for my car. But as with every plan, problems crop up at the last second. It's practically a universal rule. What's the problem? And it does! In the form of a lone figure waiting for me next to my car. Rebecca turns just as I near, the corners of her mouth twitching up in a wry smile. She offers no greeting except for a slight tilt of her head. Even as my pace slows and I look at her with all the unvoiced questions in my eyes, she remains wordless, merely throwing her head back and shifting her attention up at the starless sky when I come up and stand beside her. I thought she and Isabella were currently apologizing to each other, so how is she outside waiting by your car? Another gust of wind blows as she breathes out a sigh, weary, thick with something close to resignation. The breeze carries all of it away while she hugs her arms closer to keep herself warm, which raises the question why she's out here. The air is already heavy with the promise of rain. With clouds obscuring the view, there's really nothing left to look at but a dark blanket of nothingness. Still, she stands here as if she's intentionally waiting for everything to fall, that or she's here for some other reason. But before I can voice a single word, express a disapproval of any kind, she raises a halting hand at me, sharply cutting off the rest of my question.
I'm not here to stop you, wherever it is you're planning to go off tonight.
How? I maintain my question. How is this happening? How is this happening? Hang on. Listen. Okay, so here's Becca and Belle talking.
Belle, can we talk?
And here's him being like, I'm gonna leave. And then he says, he left the place unnoticed. I almost said leaved. And then it says he's in a hurry and he makes a beeline for his car. So how is she out here? I mean, am I missing something? There's so many things about this visual novel that seem indefensible to me. But I know there's gonna be someone out there, some dedicated soul who's like, I love the letter. I'm letter trash or whatever. And they're gonna be like, well, it's fine because, So, looking forward to reading those comments.
I won't be able to anyway. You look like you've already made up your mind.
Go back inside. It's going to rain soon. It'll probably be even heavier than the downpour we had this morning. You wouldn't want to be caught in it.
I ship Becca and Ash, so it's fine that this violation of time and space happened.
I will, in a moment. I just want to stay out here a bit for some air, away from the noise inside. Everything's been so chaotic these days. This little break is nice, even if it means standing in the middle of a parking lot, of all places. Getting out of this mess would definitely be better, but hey, you take what you can get, right?
It'll be over soon.
The confidence in my own words surprises even me. Even him. Ash is never surprised. How do I know? Why am I so sure? When in truth, what I'm about to do is a last-ditch effort. If this fails, I don't find anything. We're back to square one. It's the last lead I have. After this, we have nothing else to go off from. Regardless, it seems to amuse her, and her laughter soon sounds above the murmur of the distant traffic and the light draft sweeping around us.
How I wish. I'll be content as long as she stops showing up in my mind whenever I close my eyes.
I think that may take some time. The brain doesn't easily forget trauma.
What are you, a fucking neuroscience neurologist doctor? Huh?
I can try. But, you know, it also did a lot to us.
Tell me about it. The back of my head's still smarting from my fall last night.
Not that kind. I'm talking about us. As people. I hate to admit it, but this whole deal with the ghost, with the curse, it also brought out an ugly side to us. To all of us. And it made me realize plenty of things. About myself, about us.
What us? Let me show you our relationship score. See that? Really low. There's no us. Rebecca trails off. Suddenly a pensive expression spreads across her face. I've seen it countless of times before. And every time I see it on her, it's usually followed by memory, a silly story, or even something embarrassing I've said from childhood. Unlike me, who will much rather forget, she remembers each of them so easily. And after a short bout of silence, when she smiles, I know this is one of those times again.
Do you remember that one time, back in secondary?
Which one? We did a lot of dumb things back then. Well, I did, but you get the point.
Back then?
Mandy.
I thought you still don't like her. Don't tell me you've kept in contact with her.
Sorry.
Are you guys friends now or something?
Oh, no. We do see each other sometimes. On the way to work or when I go out for lunch, but it's nothing like that. We're not friends. Not in this lifetime. I don't think so. I don't think we'll ever get along, but if it wasn't for her, we wouldn't even be friends, yeah? You stood up for me that day. And from then on, things have changed.
So that's what... Nope, that's not, actually. I was like, that's what was happening in that picture that we saw earlier, where he was like, ah! But they were like little kids there. That wasn't secondary. Secondary is high school. She makes it sound like I'm some sort of a hero. Mandy was in the wrong. Of course I'll defend her. If no one's going to stand up for her, who else will? Chances are it would have escalated, and who knows? Maybe she would have stopped going to school or transferred. Any decent human being with an ounce of sense should know better. I acted because I know what I'm doing is what's right. It's as simple as that. Yet she smiles as if it's worth more than that. A fondness goes beyond nostalgia.
I guess what I'm trying to get at is, this time, I don't want this to go unsaid. You know, just in case something happens. Ash, I've always been in love with you.
No. Can we just go to the mansion? Can we just fucking go to the mansion, please? She says it so plainly, holding my gaze in a voice too frank that her admission stuns me into silence. Like the wind has suddenly been knocked out of me in one fell swoop. No words will form, not even a single coherent thought, as the meaning of her words bear down on me. Nevertheless, she continues, desperate to express everything she has kept to herself all these years. This is what the fondness is. Why, for her, it weighs heavier than any feelings of nostalgia can carry.
Since that time in secondary? Since I made that promise to never leave?
Oh no, she's crying. Oh no.
I've always truly loved you.
We just extended our stay by about 5 minutes because she's crying. Afterwards, there is relief, a weight suddenly being lifted from her shoulders after so long. She closes her eyes and lets out a breath. When she looks back to me, though, there's nothing but hope in them, eyes that are searching for an answer. I just told Isabella that her dead dad didn't have anything to do with anything. I love you. Yeah, okay, bye. Facing the sincerity behind her words, I know she didn't know about Isabella's dad, but still. I find myself grasping, scrambling for the words. Because as much as this pains me to admit, I can't give her the same affection she's asking from me. That is a relationship point choice right there. Let me see that. Let me see that shit. Where is it? I want to see it. Oh, right. Where the hell are we? Oh, we're actually pretty far. Okay, so that's where we are. Interesting. Huh. So there's not really like a split right there. Whatever. Okay. Sorry. We might have spent so many years alongside each other. Hell, we practically grew up together. But that never automatically means I'll ever hold for her feelings that go beyond the boundaries of friendship. I do appreciate her presence in my life. I'm more than glad she has stuck by with me even through the toughest moments, even when she finds me difficult or aggravating. However, it's really all there is to it. She's a close, important friend to me, but nothing more.
Rebecca,
I draw in a breath, ragged, unsure, uncertain how and which words to put together so it will hurt her less, so the wounds they might leave won't be as deep or scar. Though before I can even string two phrases together, she lifts a hand to my mouth and silences me. A smile's on her face, kinder than every single one I've seen from her so far. It's nice to see it on her. Suits her more than the glares or the frowns. But at the same time, it only serves to baffle me. Baffled! He's baffled! Once more. This important line isn't voiced. Interesting. You don't have to answer me.
yeah, but you should... I should...
I don't understand, because that line is voiced. And it's in response to a line that isn't voiced. Don't get that.
No, I mean, you don't need to.
See, like, that line was recorded, but it makes no sense without the previous line.
Okay, now I'm really confused.
Maybe it was rewritten? I don't know.
One moment you're saying you've been in love with me since secondary, now you're telling me to shut up?
If you want to interpret it like that, all right.
No, really. Some explanation would be nice, Becca. Because a lot of things are going on right now, and I'm afraid I can't catch up. Especially with this curveball you just threw.
Come on, Ash. Let's just get down with a quickie and be done with it, and then we'll go to the mansion.
It means what it means, Ashton. You don't need to answer me. I don't really need to hear it anymore.
Kidding, of course.
It's not that I don't want to. Believe me, if I were the same person I was before this whole thing happened to us, I'd be elated, excited even. But like I said, I also realized some things. Understood myself more. Ash, I did love you. Ever since we were kids, all those times you
Achievement
defended
unlocked.
me from bullies. I don't think that's going to change anytime soon, even after this. But at the end of the day, once you take a closer look at everything, it also turned me into a really selfish person.
Okay.
When you think about it, maybe the Ashton I loved isn't the one standing in front of me right now. Maybe all this time, I'm still clinging on to that aloof kid I met 17 years ago.
Oh, hit my microphone. I understand this. I
didn't even consider that you have a mind of your own. That one day, it won't just be the two of us.
There was a girl I knew in high school that I got pretty hung up on, and in college, like, for a few years, I was still kind of hung up on her. And I kind of realized after a while, I was like, she's a completely different person now. I'm only like hung up on this idea of her that doesn't exist anymore. It's kind of a weird realization. It's hard to break yourself out of that. Anyway. Yeah, 17 years is a long time though.
You'll find someone else and it won't be me.
Like 17 years, like now, if I was still doing it now, it'd be like, if I was still like hung up on that girl now, it'd be like, well, she's married now and she's a mother. So like maybe time to fucking move on. Oh boy. Anyway.
I'm sorry, Becca.
She has kids. Plural. I don't have anything. I'm not even sure what I'm apologizing for. That I can't return her feelings? Or because I'm somehow holding myself responsible for this, even if up until now I have no idea how she felt. Regardless, she continues to smile through all of it.
It's not your fault. Don't say that. I'm the one who should apologize. Since I suddenly sprung this up on you when you have other things to do.
Oh, no, I should apologize. Oh, no, I should apologize. No, I should apologize.
I just thought I should let you know. So I can finally let this whole thing go. One question though. Are you going to tell her?
Isabella?
Tell what to who?
I pause, frowning. A brief moment of doubt when I try to figure out what she's talking about all of a sudden. You are like the worst detective ever. So bad. You can solve cases, but you can't solve a woman's brain, huh? When it finally sinks in, though, my bewilderment hastily gives way to utter embarrassment.
Oh, shit.
What? What? Heat abruptly crawls up my face, no matter my efforts to keep it down. In the end, I can only look away from her, afraid of what else she'll see in it.
Did you really think no one would notice?
Was it that obvious?
It was surprisingly easy to tell. But that was probably because I've known you longer than
Oh,
anyone.
here we go. Yeah. You've known him longer than anyone. Who cares?
Fuck, who else knows?
I think Zach suspects.
Shit.
Ash, do you think you're surrounded by idiots? Oh, wait, of course you do.
You're embarrassingly lame when you're trying too hard. It's almost painful to watch.
Wow, look at her face. She's like getting off on this.
Don't worry. With your terrible way of flirting and knowing her, I'm quite sure Belle has no idea, even now. Not even a clue.
Harsh, Rebecca. Really harsh. I could use a vote of confidence, you know.
Yeah. You're very downtrodden. She laughs, loud. The kind that's free of any burden, ringing above the wind, slowly picking up as the storm clouds approach. With it, however, the awkward atmosphere lifts at last. There's only that camaraderie we've shared since being in that classroom 17 years ago.
I'm serious, though. Tell her.
Okay.
And if you ever
Later.
make her cry,
Later.
I'll hit you with every damn history book I have on my shelf. Clear?
Noted, ma'am.
Anyway, thanks for hearing me out. I won't keep you long.
Please don't.
I know you have things to do.
I do.
Just promise me you'll be careful, all right?
Sure. She doesn't wait for an answer. Instead, she gives me a push with a force only heavy enough to throw me off balance. Caught unawares by the gesture, for a few moments, I fight for purchase against my car's trunk, bracing my hand on its smooth surface. When I look up with a string of reprimands ready at the tip of my tongue, Rebecca's already halfway through the parking lot. Of course she is. There's a small skip in her steps, while the breeze carries the light tune she's whistling. On a whim, I let its notes be the last thing I commit to memory before slipping inside my car and driving off. Thank God! It sounds like a new beginning more than anything. Another reason to be optimistic. Yes. I thought you weren't optimistic. I thought you were hopeful, not optimistic. Didn't we go into that last? How are we not gone? How are we not gone? How are we not gone? Why are we still on this screen? Within 10 minutes, I'm driving out of Luxburn and heading straight for Anselm Village. In the distance, flashes of lightning light up the horizon, white and sharp against the black curtain of the night. Thunder threatens with a rumble, seconds later, echoing along across the sky. And with one last roar, the skies open in earnest. We're finally here. Guys, we're 45 minutes into this video. For context, I was under the impression when we started this video that this is what we were going to see like a minute later. I thought we were just gonna like get in there. And it's not the case. Look at this. Can I just say, look, this is what has happened today. Ha ha ha. Zach and Ash laugh about something. Isabella and Rebecca fight about something. Ash and Isabella have a conversation. Rebecca and Ash have a conversation. Nothing's happened. Please just... They went to the bar. They ate some food. That's all that happened. All day. On Halloween. In a horror visual novel. That's all that happened on Halloween. Okay. The rain fallen fast. Good, we're off to a great start with the grammar. The rain falls in fast. Steady sheets, creating shallow puddles on the dirt path, drenching everything the eyes can reach. Despite having grown up in the city, I still despise the rain. Living here doesn't mean I have to like it. Lucky me, I've reached the mansion before the downpour has turned torrential. The long slog from Anselm Village by foot has already been made difficult by the light drizzle and biting winds buffeting against my body. Buffeting is how it's pronounced. I think it's funny to say buffeting, though. Every few seconds. By the time I've found cover under the trees lying in the vicinity of the mansion, my shoulders are already drenched. My hair is also sticking against my skin and out in every possible direction. Thankfully, the letter, taser, and gun I've brought with me has remained relatively dry. That's the most important thing. However, those are the least of my problems at the moment. Sometime after the housewarming party, scumbag Wright has suddenly grown a brain and tightened the security around the mansion. A guard is now stationed in every possible point of entry, the main entryway, the back door leading to the kitchens. Hell, it's almost a miracle no one has spotted me once I entered the property, although that's probably because I've kept close to the forest. Well, I can always create a clever way in for myself under this deluge. It'll be difficult to do so without making much noise or leaving tracks.
I don't really have the luxury either, do I?
Maybe shut the fuck up, because they might hear you. Considering how off this place feels since I've stepped into the property and the mansion came into view, every lights are off. Even with the security personnel on patrol outside, the whole house itself feels empty, eerie, too quiet. Normally, I'll pass it off as some kind of power outage because of the storm. It's not a far-off conclusion when this place is almost in the middle of nowhere. However, something just feels wrong.
Something happened here.
Or about to. It's the sole reason why I haven't done anything yet. Simply observing, watching, listening for anything. I might be pressed for time, but I'm not a careless idiot. Although I need a way in, desperately so. Moving without thinking will not only endanger me. With so many unknown variables in what we're dealing with, I also have to act on the assumption that someone is always in danger, especially in this place. Yeah, let's get going. I can't act impetuously. Yes, you need to be careful. Thank you, Sherlock. As much as I hate Wright, I'm not about to cause his death because of one thoughtless action. If there's a place he deserves to be at, it's in a prison, not a morgue. So when a hoarse, painful sob suddenly rings out above the loud pitter-patter of rain, only then do I stir. A woman, perhaps a servant, or worse, Hannah Wright. It's coming from the forest? Just right ahead, in fact, not too far from the house. Regardless, I give the place a quick, wary glance before following the noise. Carefully, keeping to the shadows, one cautious step after another. Louder and louder it goes as I near. Until it abruptly turns into a loud, desperate, anguished cry. I break into a run. One nervous hand ready on the gun holstered at my hip, and the other raised for balance as I scurry across the dense understory. Dead leaves crunch under my shoes, but I pay it no mind. There's only the voice, the woman, and... nothing. Abruptly, it all stops, and I am met with a sudden hush. Blank. Empty. Almost deafening in its stillness, even with my labored breathing and pounding heartbeat against my ears. Behind me, another branch breaks, and...
Help me.
Dread surges within me while I spin around and take a hard step back, ignoring the chilly pinpricks crawling at back of my neck. But before I can even meet her eyes, the world unexpectedly pitches sideways. Tilting. And tilting till the ground beneath me finally crumbles. What's going on? My hands fight for purchase. Only to meet air. By then it's too late. His hands are fighting to buy things. My foot slips further and the rest of my body follows. Okay. What happened? Dark spots blur the edges of my vision. Black tendrils twist and coil around my limbs. Soft footfalls echo from the far distance, scurrying, scampering, moving in an odd rhythm with the sharp, piercing notes of her laughter. But more than that are the voices, lacing venom inside every crevice in my head, murmurs that jeer, scoff, and deride. We've read this before. Over. It's because you didn't listen. And over. It's all your fault. Those were voiced last time, though. They were voiced the last time we heard them. Now they're not. And over again. Here, look. Oh. Weird. Why won't you believe me? A reminder of what I've failed to do and of who I've failed. What I'm trying to desperately fix. A scream threatens to burst, but my throat closes off. Ever so slowly, a chill seeps into every nerve of my body, washing away every sensation in me, apart from one. There was only fear. Why are we seeing this again? It's like... This entire scene we've experienced before. Once again, her laughter echoes. A sound so bitter and unforgiving is the last thing I hear before she reaches for me. The ground trembles. The world slows to a stop. Ooh, we're in the basement! Awesome. I wonder if we're gonna see Marianne here. Cool. Half darkness greets me when my eyes finally snap open, the soft patter of dripping water somewhere spurring my consciousness further. For a few short moments I remain still, blinking away the dizziness, allowing my vision to adjust to the lack of light and my breathing to even out first before pushing myself up on one arm and attempting to stand. Turning alone is a struggle on its own. An inch of movement sends a stab of sharp pain right up my arms and my back, giving me another pause.
Shit. I hope I didn't break anything. Fuck.
There doesn't seem to be any injury or a major fracture, although the whole of my back does feel sore and raw. Probably from when I've skidded down prior to landing myself here. A comforting thought. The second attempt comes easier later, though no less painful, and by the time I'm back on my feet, the exertion has left me gasping in short, shallow breaths and leaning hardly on the wall nearest to me. Behind me, a light draft blows in from where I've fallen in, coming in short, sharp bursts into what's apparently an underground tunnel and brings in the fresh, earthy smell of rain from the topside. Regardless, it fails to mask the old, musty scent of the place, a mixture of mold, mildew, dust, grease, and something distinctly foul. Like death. More worrisome than the putrid, festering smell, however, are the cells that line both sides of the tunnel. Under the dim light, I can barely make out what's inside on some of them, but I already have a few ideas, all of which I refuse to delve into at the moment. Oh, of course, wouldn't want to give us the spooks or anything. Reading a horror visual novel. Knowing how long this mansion has stood, somehow, no matter how unexpected finding the existence of this place is, it isn't too surprising.
I wonder if Scumbag knows about this.
Probably not, unless he's also the kind of person who takes joy in inflicting this kind of suffering on others. I don't really think so. He's rotten to the core, but not that rotten. He'll probably balk at this, move out the very first opportunity, and have it demolished. The very idea of what has occurred in this place years ago makes me reel as well. I've known long ago places like this tend to hold secrets. This, though, if this is just the tip of the iceberg, I fear what I may discover in the mansion itself and the tale behind that fucking letter. But fear is inconsequential. As unpleasant as the sight of this is, this place might also be the only way for me to get inside unnoticed. You're thinking a lot for being in, like, a hallway of torture chambers. Like, let's start making our way, please. Sighing and taking one last gulp of clean air, I push away from the wall, rather, and delve deeper into the passage.
Let's just hope it'll be smooth sailing from here on.
Come on, see Marianne, come on. Turns out that, alone, is too much to ask for this early. It's Marianne. No, not 20 paces into it, another sound abruptly rises above my footfalls, rebounding up the hollow walls and echoing inaudibly across the whole span of the tunnel before fading away just as swiftly as it rang. I pause, nevertheless, straining my ears for more of it while I gradually move my hand to my side, slow and steady until the tips of my fingers brush off the gun's handle. Although cold against my skin, it's the closest thing I have to comfort at the moment. For a long minute I wait, holding my breath, watching every form, edge, and shadow at the corner of my vision for any movement. After a heartbeat and nothing, I allow the tension to ease out of me in the form of a long, slow exhale that reverberates around the whole passage.
Who's there?
Did you hear the sigh? He sighed. Perhaps it's because of what has happened earlier and how I've ended up here, or maybe it's because of my training, but in spite of the panic and fear in that voice, I don't immediately answer. Instead, I pull my gun free from its holster and wordlessly draw towards where the voice rings out once again. Afraid, frantic, weak?
I'm asking you a question. Who's there?
Come on. Question marks like we don't know who that is. It's only after I've released the safety do I answer, while continuing my approach in a careful, steady pace. I know the question marks are there because he doesn't know who it is yet. He'll
I
recognize
think
her.
I should be the one asking you that. Who are you? Show yourself.
I can't. I'm stuck in here.
Well, a ghost will definitely not be saying that, or have a conversation like this, or be stuck anywhere. And as if to prove her point, she extends a hand from one of the cells ahead and waves. Then she pulls back, grips the iron bars, and rattles it lightly.
I can't get out. Can you help?
There's a discrepancy with the line here in the background image. In 5 quick steps, I'm standing in front of the cell, and sure enough, a woman's inside. Where? Slumped on the floor, holding the bars with shaking hands, clinging to it as if it's the only thing keeping her upright. And not just any woman.
You? McLaughlin?
Marianne. McCulloch. The same one I met at G's 5 days ago, smashed drunk and babbling her frustrations about her employers.
Holmes?
No, not McLaughlin. McCulloch. Marianne McCulloch. Famous interior designer extraordinaire. Not so extraordinary now with how exhausted and feeble she looks. That's a low blow. Come on. Not so extraordinary now, huh? Trapped in a jail cell of all things. Her breathing shallow and there's paleness to her complexion, sunken eyes, cracked lips, dry skin. All signs pointing to starvation and dehydration.
What? How long have you been stuck in here?
I don't understand. Where is
3
she?
days. 4. I don't know. I have no idea anymore.
Shouldn't she be in the background, or am I just misinterpreting this?
I just fell in, and that woman... Whatever. Can you get me out of here? Please.
In a moment. But here, go feed yourself first before you fall over.
I fish out an energy bar from my pocket and hand it to her. She's lucky I always have one on my person. Yeah, she's lucky. She's lucky. What a lucky girl. For sudden emergencies or extended stakeouts. A little sugar to keep me going. Like any starving person, she wastes no time making a grab for it. Oh, you know how starving people are. You know how they eat energy bars. Unwrapping it straight away and taking in whole mouthfuls of it. Relief washes over her face on the first bite alone, although she's going to need more than that if what she said is true. But for the moment, it's enough to keep her alive. Good thing she seems to have the sense to prioritize survival over comfort, if the puddle on the corner of the cell indicates anything. Without water, the human body can only survive 3 days. No food, and I'll give it an average of 3 weeks, though even then it won't be a pretty experience. Granted, there that word is again, some have survived longer than that. She's still fortunate I found her when I did. Now to get her out. My bobby pins won't be of any use here. Not like I need it. Unlike the ones we have at the precinct, a simple barrel hinge holds the gates to this cell together. Alright, he brought his bobby pins. Even without any special tools, I'll be able to lift the door and free her. However, with how heavy it seems, I'll need a lever of some sort to help.
What are you looking for?
Oh, she's
Some
eating.
wood, a 2x4, I guess, a plank or a pipe, anything I can use as a lever.
Wouldn't it be better not to talk? Or like to talk in a very hushed tone, considering where we are?
Wait here.
The hallway yields nothing but dust, dirt, and a few rusted chains scattered about. While I may find something in one of the open cells, I'm reluctant to check or even step in. We can't have another person trapped in here. However, McCulloch ended up inside.
Well, there's no...
My head snaps back to her. McCulloch extricates a wooden board from under the mess of hay and twine near her. Oh, she extricated it, did she? Without prompting, she slips it through what little space there is between the bars. It's short, but appears thick and sturdy enough for my intended purpose upon closer inspection.
Good enough.
They're gonna get caught. They're gonna get caught here. I hope. I get to work at once. Because, like, the idea that Ash would go to the Ermengarde mansion, rescue Marianne, escape with her, I mean, that's an open and shut court case right there. Seriously, I mean, so he can't get away with this, right? I get to work at once, anchoring the other end of the plank at the base of the door and applying ample force on the other end. It takes a bit of effort, no kidding about the heavy part. Still, a grunt, a gasp, a creak. In a matter of minutes, with a little help from her on the other side, the door eventually lifts off its hinges. It falls on the ground with a loud, ugly, metallic thud, but the sound of it puts elation on McCulloch's face. She doesn't even ask for help. As soon as she can, she hastily crawls out of the prison she has accidentally found herself in, more than happy to get out of it, despite lacking the strength to stand firmly on her feet.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
I got an achievement, prison break.
After the second day, I was so sure I was going to die in there.
She looks pale.
If you didn't show up, today, I don't even want to think about it.
How did you even end up here?
What's that on her face? Is that my monitor? No, I don't want to smudge my monitor. It's like a line down her eye. For a second, she appears hesitant, looking away and fumbling awkwardly with her fingers.
I was looking for something.
Okay, it's nothing. Sorry.
Someone.
A contemplative expression flickers in her eyes, something that's close to wistful, like when a person remembers a memory she's fond of. It doesn't last too long, but it still leaves me the impression that I've suddenly walked into something private. Something deeply personal for her. I'd rather not ask.
So this whole tunnel, at the end of it, it leads right inside the mansion?
The wine cellar.
Right into the kitchen then.
There's a door of some sorts. I don't know. I think I pulled or pressed something somewhere. I was in a hurry. And I'm not sure if it'll open from this side. Hell, this place wasn't even in the floor plans.
Let's keep it down. Keep it down, please.
What do you mean?
I thought I was gonna have to voice that. What do you mean?
Does that really matter now? We have to get out of here. People died in this place. Kids! Oh God! Kids!
Yeah, let's freaking keep it down, please.
I could have shown you, but that thing won't turn back on anymore. It's like it only waited for me to see it before shutting down or something. How long has that thing even been in there? But those poor kids. All because of that thing.
Wait, hold on. What are you talking about right now?
The bloody letter! Ever since I've read that thing, since that day at the open house, she won't leave me.
Well, she left you here. Sorry, too soon?
But it should be fine now, right? I broke it. I broke all of it. She shouldn't be able to do anything now.
Marianne's lost a little bit. I mean, she's been by herself for 3 days with no food or water.
Nicola, one at a time.
It's all that fucking paper's fault! Oh God! Oh God! Dear Lord in St. Adelaide, bless those poor souls. We're not safe here. We need to leave. If we stay here any longer...
Nicola!
Abruptly, she stops, looks back at me with wild, panic-stricken eyes. I've seen enough of it so many times these past few days, from my own friends even, to know she has seen things, the kind that'll easily make any person go mad. And perhaps we slowly are. The longer this takes, the faster our descent into it becomes. I can't even tell which one's worse, death or this. Seems like no matter what we end up with, there'll be something horrible waiting for us. I need to hurry.
Listen, I need to get inside this place, and you're more familiar with its layout. If you can help me...
What? No! Why would I go back? Are you sure you haven't gotten raving mad yet? An exit's right here.
And this business with the letter has to end at some point. Look, I know you're not very fond of Luke Wright.
Damn right I'm not. He can just go.
But are you really sure you want to leave him like this? And what about his wife?
It strikes a chord. Oh yeah, she's got feelings for his wife. She falters, grows quiet as the tension lifts from her and her shoulders slump. I do understand her issues with this. In fact, she doesn't have to go with me, only tell me enough info so I can figure it out on my own. She can always leave afterwards, be done with this whole damn mansion and letter. The other end of this tunnel leads right into the forest. It'll provide ample cover for her to be able to slip out of the property unnoticed. All the same, she steels herself and squares her shoulders.
Just until the kitchens.
That's more than enough.
She nods, albeit weakly. Then without another word, she gestures for me to follow, leading me further into the passage. Occasionally she'll stop, find purchase on the wall to catch her breath. But throughout the short walk, she asks for neither a break nor assistance. She found something to buy on the wall. I suppose that's something we have in common. Eventually, we get to a dead end. Although before I can question her on it, she begins palming for something on the wall. Hang on. Okay, cool. Tracing her fingers along weathered edges of the bricks with a frown on her face.
It should be somewhere here, I think.
What the hell are you doing?
She merely holds up a hand, begging for my silence, and continues searching. Then, without warning, a few minutes later, something clicks, which was spoiled for us by the sound effect that came in right at the beginning of the sentence. A portion of the wall shifts ajar to reveal a glimpse of another room. Bottles lining the walls, liquor barrels for aging. The wine cellar, indeed. Yes.
The ladder to the kitchen is on the far end of this room.
A detective, everybody. Surreal. This is all nothing but a surreal nightmare. But after everything, should this even surprise me? Ghosts, curses, hidden passages? I can't even bring myself to question the existence of this door anymore. I simply follow her to the undercroft without a single question, in spite of a number of them already swimming inside my head. As a kid, I used to crave for this kind of adventure. The stuff of mystery and detective novels, daring chases, interesting cases to solve, suspects to put behind bars, justice to serve. I was blinded, I admit it. Now I simply want this to be over. Okay, guys, that's gonna do it for this episode. So we're finally getting somewhere. Good. I'll see you guys in the next video. Bye-bye.